The natives of the Appalachian Mountains have passed down stories since they made these hills home. Not only did the Cherokee people use the stories to entertain, they were lessons on ethics, of culture, and of how to survive the perils of the land. Because they knew the mountain hills intimately, they passed down warnings so future generations would be prepared for what lurks in the shadows. Because some dangers dwell in a realm outside us, where spirits, sorcerers, and monsters are real, where what we perceive as safe and familiar is anything but. Welcome to Haunted Hollers and Eerie Encounters, stories from the Smoky Mountains and beyond. I'm your host, Stormy Skies, and tonight we're stepping into two legends from Cherokee tradition. Two separate stories meant to warn and instruct. Two rivaling dangers competing for a food source of human prey. But both remembered for what they taught the people who survived them. It didn't begin with something they could see. It began with something wrong in the tribes of the Cherokee people. People grew weak, pale, drained, slowly, and without any sign of injury. They would go out into the forests as normal, return home walking, talking, and then take a turn for the worse. One after another, the pattern repeated, until the pattern became impossible to ignore. And then she appeared, but not as something terrifying or threatening, but as something familiar. An old woman, gentle and soft-spoken, moving among the people, unnoticed, but watching, a silent and lethal presence. But the sickness seemed to follow her. Every place she lingered, every person she talked with, someone would fall ill soon after, until someone noticed. The way she held one hand, the way she concealed it, something long and sharp hidden under her sleeve. A finger, hard as stone and sharp as a spear. That's when they understood that this was no woman. They called her Spearfinger. Over time, her food source was revealed: livers. Capable of singing to stun and soothe her prey, she would use her finger to remove a person's liver so quick and painlessly, the victims were none the wiser of her attack, until it was too late. The Cherokee knew they couldn't fight her directly. Their spears broke on her skin. It was as tough as the mountain rock. So they changed their approach. They dug a pit, deep and hidden, and waited. When she fell in, the warriors struck. Arrows flew, and spears followed, searching for a weakness. But nothing worked. The stone held. Every strike, useless. Until, out of a tree, flew a tiny bird, a chickadee. Quiet and watchful, the chickadee had been studying Spearfinger. It flew down and landed on her hand. One of the warriors found this odd and took notice. Why would it behave this way? Perching right at the base of that stone finger. And in that moment, he understood. Her heart wasn't in her chest. It was hidden in the palm of her hand. The warrior knew what must be done. He aimed his arrow for that hand and fired. The arrow pierced her hand and heart, and Spearfinger fell. Not because she was weaker, but because someone was able to notice the sign given to them, the message of the chickadee. But the mountains held another danger, and hiding wasn't his style. In some tellings, he began as a man, powerful one, a sorcerer who became something else, something hardened, twisted, and inhuman. They called him the Stone Man. His body was encased in rock, hard as the mountains themselves. When he walked, his footsteps rang out, like stone striking stone. He hunted the woods, tirelessly and unrelenting, tracking people through the mountains. He possessed a staff capable of pointing in the direction of whatever he was searching for, that could create bridges of stone over obstacles like rivers. Not only was it all too easy for him to find his prey, he was also capable of controlling minds. So once he found you, there was no escape. Like Spearfinger, he was after one thing: human liver. They tried to fight him, but nothing worked. Their weapons shattered on his tough mountain rock skin. Their strength proved no help, and he kept coming. So they turned, not to warriors, but to wisdom, the village medicine man. He knew of this creature and his weakness, and what he understood would save them all. The Stone Man wasn't just protected by stone. He was protected by magic, and that magic could be undone. The key lied with the women of the village that were of childbearing age. Cherokee tradition viewed menstruation as a powerful and sacred force, a symbol of strength, life, and the ability to connect with the land. This power was seen as so powerful, it could be used to destroy, purify, or counter unnatural evils. The medicine man went to the women of the village and gathered those that were having their monthly cycle. 7 women came forward to protect their village. As the Stone Man neared the village and approached them, his strength began to fade. Each woman he walked past caused him to grow weaker and vomit blood. By the time he reached the 7th woman, he collapsed onto the dirt. The medicine man knew what must be done. He drove 7 sourwood stakes through him, pinning him to the ground and holding him in place. That night, they piled logs onto him and lit a fire. It rose around him, consuming what had been unbreakable. The Stone Man knew his time was short. He began to talk of the knowledge he possessed. He shared the medicine for many sicknesses. At midnight, he began to sing. He sang hunting songs, and the village remembered. They learned the song to call bear and deer and other animals of the woods. With his dying song, the Stone Man shared the fountain of knowledge that he possessed from his inhumanly long-lived life. When morning came and the flames had died, he was gone. Under the white ash was red paint and a magical stone, sacred and powerful artifacts used by the Cherokee to help their people prosper. 2 different legends, 2 different horrors, one hidden in plain sight, one seemingly impossible to stop. But both shared something besides skin like stone and a hunger for human livers. And both left something behind, a lesson that we must listen even to the smallest voice and understand a threat before we act. Maybe these are just stories, or maybe there's something more. Because even now, people still hear things in these woods, still feel something watching them. And maybe the point was never whether they were real. Maybe the point was to make sure you know there are forces out there beyond our understanding. Have you experienced something strange? Strange lights or shadows? Phantom footsteps on an otherwise abandoned trail? Or something watching you from the tree line? Give me a holler. Send your story to MyHollerStory@gmail.com, and your encounter might be featured on a future episode of Eerie Encounters. And if you're enjoying the show, make sure you're following so you don't miss what's coming next. Episodes are out every Saturday at 5 p.m. on Spotify and wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to support the show, you can find the link to my website under the show description. If you'd like to delve deeper into the shadows, all sources are linked in the description. The mountains of Appalachia have always been a place of mystery. Long before the roads and towns, these ridges held stories of strange creatures, wandering spirits, and encounters no one could explain. Stories that taught people to listen, to heed the warnings, and keep the knowledge passed down by our elders. And even today, deep within the forests of the Great Smoky Mountains, people still report seeing things they can't quite explain. This has been Haunted Hollers and Eerie Encounters. Thank you for listening and for stepping with me into the shadows of Appalachia. Until next time, stay out of the hollers after dark.